Okay, let's dive in. We've got this technical qualification report in front of us.
It's a pretty dense one.
It is. It's for the HELIOS QE24 quantum engine.
Right.
And our mission for you today is to really understand one thing. How did they jump from that, tiny laptop limit for quantum simulation to a scale that's actually ready for massive industrial deployment?
It's a huge architectural leap. And the goal is to decode the core trick that lets this digital simulator, Helios, achieve a scale that is 2,000 times larger than the physical state-of-the-art.
And that physical benchmark is the Caltech 6,100 atom array, which is already incredible.
Exactly. So we're comparing virtual to physical, right at the extreme edge.
So we have to start with that wall, the laptop limit. Why is it so restrictive?
It all comes down to memory. Exponential memory growth.
Right. The legacy simulators, like things based on Qiskit, they track the simulation using state vector evolution.
And that math, the 16 times 2 to the n, that's the killer.
For every single qubit you add, you need to double the memory of the last one.
Precisely. And that's why you hit a ceiling, effectively around 24 qubits, which takes up about 16 gigabytes of RAM. That exponential curve just makes a bigger scale impossible.
On conventional architecture, anyway.
Right. And what's so fascinating here is how Helios completely bypasses this. They don't play that game.
How?
They treat qubits not as elements in one big unified state vector, but as independent computational objects.
Like individual things.
Literally, they're just structs of spin, phase, and position in the code.
Hold on. Is there independent structs? Doesn't that sort of break the whole quantum idea of, entanglement and superposition?
Not at all. It's just a shift in how you track it. So instead of calculating the state of the entire universe at once, the simulation just focuses on the interaction vectors between these individual qubit objects.
Ah, okay. So the memory scaling becomes
Linear O of n.
That is the paradigm shift right there.
Oh.
So if one qubit is, say, 2 kilobytes, a million qubits is only...
Around 2 gigabytes of memory.
We just went from an impossible memory problem to something totally manageable.
Exactly. The bottleneck shifts entirely away from memory capacity and onto floating point throughput. It becomes about how fast you can process everything.
Okay, so that's the theory.
Right.
But crunching calculations for 12 million objects still needs an immense amount of power. How do they do that in practice?
It's all about distributed orchestration. They call it scaling by rank. And they use cellular RAM and OpenMPI to manage it across a huge HPC cluster.
Think of those as the traffic cops for the supercomputer.
A perfect way to put it. And the key engineering trick that makes it all work is something called zero-copy sharding.
Okay, break that down for us. Zero-copy sharding.
Yeah.
It sounds like you're trying to avoid a massive data traffic jam.
That is the perfect analogy. The system gets this incredible, 85 to 95% efficiency because the calculation data is born right where it needs to be processed.
So no master nodes sending out chunks of data?
None. The STLURM process ID maps directly to the OpenMPI rank. So every single GPU, every rank, calculates its own slice of the work locally right at the start. It never has to ask a master node for its assignment.
Which keeps the network from getting saturated. That's the silent killer of these big clusters.
It is. And to do this, you need serious muscle. We're talking 10 NVIDIA H100 GPUs, the 80 gigabyte versions, all packed into an HPE ProLiant node tray.
And that whole setup gets you to the full 12 million qubit objects.
Right. And even when they push it hard to 8 ranks, they see maybe a 15% efficiency loss, which is totally acceptable and validates the whole strategy.
So now let's connect this back to the real world, that physical benchmark, the Caltech array.
A true scientific marvel.
But it's limited by physics, right?
Yeah.
Atom loss, keeping the vacuum pure, temperature control. It handles about 6,100 atoms, and its throughput is around 6 million operations per second.
And that's where the comparison gets just breathtaking.
Yeah.
We're looking at Caltech's 6,100 atoms versus Helios's 12 million qubit objects.
And the performance.
That's the real story. The Helios cluster achieves a staggering 270 billion virtual inference operations per second.
Wow. Okay, so that throughput gap, that is the 2000x advantage you mentioned at the start.
That's it. This proves Helios isn't a competitor to physical hardware. It's a high-fidelity digital twin generator.
So you can use it to visualize these massive quantum phenomena that you just can't build in a lab yet. Things like Laniakea flows or Kerr singularity topology.
At a scale that physical hardware can't touch? Not yet.
So to synthesize this all for you,
Right.
they cracked the quantum scale problem by just abandoning the exponential memory model. Instead, they embraced linear processing distribution, scaling by rank.
which leaves you with one last really interesting thought to chew on.
What's that?
The NVIDIA H100 GPUs they use, they're pure compute cards. They don't have any video output.
Right, so the whole thing runs headless.
Exactly. It runs in what's called headless EGL mode.
Yeah.
That means Rancor has to act as a compositor. It has to gather all the final visualization data from all the other ranks using a command called MPI gather.
That sounds like another bottleneck right there.
It is. So here's the question for you to consider. If solving the simulation scale was the first great frontier, what if the visualization bottleneck, just that final step of gathering terabytes of data to draw a picture, is the next massive challenge in distributed computing?